"Those humans are absolutely insane," Training Officer Vex Tula exclaimed, pounding his 4 appendages on the conference table. The vibration sent ripples through his purple skin flaps, a clear sign of distress among the Zortanian species. Senior Commander Prilnaz sighed, her 6 eye stalks swiveling independently to observe each of the 13 training officers gathered in the circular debriefing chamber. "Let's maintain some professional decorum, shall we? This is the Galactic Federation's premier military academy, not some backwater trading outpost." The room buzzed with nervous chittering as officers from 12 different species shifted uncomfortably in their ergonomically designed seating pods. The atmosphere was thick with tension, made worse by the lingering scent of fear pheromones. "Professional decorum?" Vex Tula's voice rose an octave. "Have you seen what that human did during training week? The security footage would make a battle-hardened Krontan warrior question his life choices." Commander Prilnaz fluttered her breathing membranes, the Zortanian equivalent of an exasperated sigh. "Yes, I've reviewed the footage. That's why we're having this emergency meeting. Cadet Thompson is the first human to attend our academy, and clearly we had some misconceptions about their capabilities." "Misconceptions?" Training Officer Glorp bubbled through his speech vents. The gelatinous plastoid's translucent body turned an alarming shade of orange. "That's like saying a supernova is a minor stellar event." "Perhaps we should review the incidents chronologically," suggested Training Officer Xanarep, always the methodical one among the reptilian Thrasi. Her scales shimmered with a metallic gleam under the chamber's soft lighting. "I believe it started on day 1 with the endurance training?" Commander Prilnaz nodded, her primary stalk. "Agreed. Let's approach this systematically." She tapped a command into the neural interface, and a holographic display flickered to life above the table. "Day 1, Endurance Assessment. Training Officer Creel, you supervised this session?" The insectoid Vaspid clicked his mandibles nervously. "Yes, Commander. As per standard protocol, we began with the endurance circuit, 5 orbits of the training moon, with the standard gravity simulators set at 1.3 times the Federation average. We expected most cadets to complete 3 orbits before requiring rest periods." "And Cadet Thompson?" prompted the commander. She just kept running." Creel's antennae drooped. When the other cadets collapsed from exhaustion, she appeared to enter some kind of trance state. She called it a runner's high and completed all 5 orbits without stopping, then asked if there was a cool-down lap. Nervous laughter rippled through the room. "That's nothing," interjected Training Officer Quelvac, his eye stalks quivering. "On day 2, during survival training, I instructed the cadets they would need to forage for sustenance from the academy gardens. The other species selected appropriate vegetation for their diets. But Thompson, she consumed nearly everything she encountered." "Surely not the toxic Venusian fire peppers?" gasped Xanarep. "They see, especially the fire peppers." Quelvac's voice cracked. She said, and I quote, "These are milder than the ghost peppers back home." Then proceeded to ask if we had something called hot sauce to kick it up a notch. Commander Prilnaz's primary eye stalk twitched. That does align with the medical report. Apparently, humans have deliberately evolved to consume substances that cause pain as a recreational activity. It gets worse. Training Officer Durla Finn interjected. The aquatic Meridian's gills pulsed with agitation beneath her hydration collar. Day 3 was my weapons proficiency course. I assigned Thompson a standard TX-9 plasma rifle. Within minutes, she had disassembled it, reassembled it, and asked if we had anything with more kick. "But the TX-9 has nearly lethal recoil for most species," Commander Prilnaz said. "Precisely." Durla Finn slapped a webbed hand on the table. "When I explained this, she laughed and said that on Earth they give plasma weapons to children for entertainment. Called them laser tag or something equally terrifying." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Day 4 was perhaps the most alarming. Training Officer Zon Pell said quietly. The normally stoic lithoid's crystalline features looked unusually clouded. "Combat training. We paired cadets by weight class and physiological capability. We matched Thompson with Cadet Verks, right? Commander Prill-Nas recalled. A logical choice, given the Taurians' similar muscle density and reaction times. Yes, Zahn Pell confirmed, his voice barely above a whisper. Verks is the champion wrestler of his home planet. Thompson defeated him in 6 seconds. Gasps echoed around the table. But how? Asked Glorp, his gelatinous form rippling with confusion. Thompson said she had taken something called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes as a hobby. Zahn Pell's voice trembled. A hobby. After she defeated Verks, she proceeded to defeat every other cadet I paired her with, different techniques each time. Something called Muay Thai for one, Krav Maga for another. Humans have hundreds of formalized combat systems, added Xana Rep, who had apparently been researching. They develop martial arts for recreation, sport, and self-improvement. They literally fight each other for fun. The revelation was met with stunned silence. But Day 5, Training Officer Vex Tula said, voice quavering, Day 5 was when I truly understood the horror of what we're dealing with. Commander Prill-Nas's eye stalks all focused on him, the psychological resilience test. Yes. Vex Tula's skin flaps had turned ashen. As you know, we use the standard Federation nightmare simulator. It scans the cadet's brain and generates their deepest fears in a controlled virtual environment. Most cadets last between 15 to 40 seconds before requesting termination of the simulation. And Thompson? Someone asked, though everyone could guess the answer. 1 hour. Vex Tula whispered. She lasted the full hour. The safety protocols automatically ended the session at the maximum allowable duration. How is that possible? Glorp bubbled. When she removed the neural interface, she was laughing. Vex Tula's appendages trembled. She said, and I documented this precisely. That was like a mid-tier horror movie. You guys should check out something called The Exorcist if you want to see scary. They willing expose themselves to fear. As entertainment? Durla Finn's voice was faint. It appears humans deliberately seek out experiences that trigger fear responses, Commander Prill-Nas confirmed, reviewing notes on her datapad. They call it being an adrenaline junkie or thrill-seeking behavior. But it was Day 6, Training Officer Corva said, speaking for the first time. The avian Razik's feathers were uncharacteristically ruffled. Day 6 showed us what truly makes humans the most terrifying species in the galaxy. All eyes turned to Corva. The social cohesion exercise, Commander Prill-Nas prompted. Yes. Corva's beak clacked nervously. As you know, we deliberately created conflict scenarios between cadets from traditionally antagonistic species to test their diplomatic abilities. We placed Thompson in the highest tension group with a Varaxian and a Peltoid, Commander Prill-Nas recalled, species that had been at war for centuries. Within 30 minutes, she had them laughing together. Corva's voice held a note of disbelief. She used something called jokes and self-deprecating humor to diffuse the tension. By the end of the session, the Varaxian and Peltoid had exchanged contact information and made plans to study together. That's impressive, Commander Prill-Nas admitted. No, it's terrifying. Corva squawked. Humans can form social bonds with anyone. They instinctively analyze social dynamics and adapt their behavior to integrate themselves into any group. They're like social chameleons. This ability does seem unprecedented, Commander Prill-Nas acknowledged. And that brings us to Day 7. Training Officer Glorp bubbled ominously. The room fell silent again. The crisis simulation, Commander Prill-Nas said quietly. Yes. Glorp's gelatinous form rippled. As per standard protocol, we simulated a catastrophic station failure, multiple systems failing simultaneously, artificial gravity fluctuating, atmosphere venting, fires in 3 sections, and several injured drones requiring evacuation. The standard impossible scenario, Commander Prill-Nas nodded, designed to test how cadets handle failure and prioritize competing emergencies. Except Thompson didn't fail. Glorp's voice was hollow. She saved everyone. Fixed critical systems, established a triage for the injured, organized the other cadets into efficient teams, all while cracking jokes about something called Monday mornings. That shouldn't be possible. Commander Prill Naz's eye stalks quivered. The simulation is designed to be unwinnable. That's what I said. Glorp exclaimed. When I told her afterward that the scenario was created to be impossible. Do you know what she said? She said, "Oh, we call those Kobayashi Maru scenarios back home. After an old story. But you know what we say about those? We don't believe in no-win scenarios." The room erupted into alarmed chatter. Commander Prill Naz raised all four appendages for silence. "Officers, please. We need to approach this rationally." "Rationally?" Vex Tula's voice cracked. "There's nothing rational about humans. They eat things that cause pain. They deliberately scare themselves. They can befriend anyone. And, worst of all, they refuse to accept impossible situations." "What Vex Tula means," Zana Rep interjected more calmly, "is that humans appear to possess a unique psychological makeup. When faced with limitations, they seem pathologically driven to overcome them, and that makes them unpredictable," added Corva. "Dangerous, even." Commander Prill Naz considered this. "The question then becomes, what do we do with Cadet Thompson? And more broadly, should we accept more human cadets in the future?" The room fell silent as each officer contemplated the implications. "Perhaps," Officer Creel suggested tentatively, "we should view this as an opportunity rather than a threat." "Explain," Commander Prill Naz prompted. "If humans possess these extraordinary capabilities and mindsets, wouldn't we want them as allies rather than potential adversaries?" Creel's antennae twitched. "I propose we not only keep Cadet Thompson but recruit more humans, study them, learn from them." "Are you insane?" Vex Tula exploded. "More humans? Why not just invite a supernova into the academy?" "Because," said a new voice from the doorway, "you might need that supernova someday." All eyes swiveled to see Cadet Thompson leaning casually against the doorframe, arms crossed, with the hint of a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. The room froze in collective shock. "Sorry to interrupt," Thompson said, not sounding sorry at all. "I was told to report for additional psychological evaluation. But it sounds like you're all having a much more interesting conversation." How long had she been standing there? How much had she heard? "Cadet Thompson," Commander Prill Naz recovered first. "This is a closed meeting." "Yeah, I gathered that." Thompson stepped into the room, apparently unintimidated by 13 alien officers staring at her. "But since you're discussing my performance and apparently the fate of human inclusion in the Galactic Federation, I thought I might offer some perspective." The audacity left the officers speechless. "See, here's the thing," Thompson continued, pulling up an empty chair and sitting in it backwards, arms resting on the backrest. "Everything you've observed this week, that's just baseline human behavior. I'm not special. I'm not even particularly exceptional by human standards." "That cannot be accurate," Vex Tula stammered. "But it is," Thompson grinned. "What you call endurance. On Earth we have races where people run hundreds of miles for fun. Those combat techniques? Most humans know at least basic self-defense. And crisis management? Please. Humans thrive in chaos. Why?" asked Zana Rep, genuine curiosity in her voice. "What evolutionary pressure created such intensity?" Thompson's expression grew more serious. "Earth isn't like your worlds. It's beautiful but harsh. We evolved as prey animals, believe it or not, slower and weaker than our predators. We survived by outlasting them, outthinking them. We learned to adapt to every environment, from Arctic ice to burning deserts. We fought each other constantly, forcing rapid development of both technology and social structures." She leaned forward, her eyes scanning the room. "But here's what you really need to understand. The reason we seek out challenges, why we push boundaries, why we refuse to accept limitations, it's because deep down, we know something you don't." "And what is that?" Commander Prill Naz asked quietly. Thompson's lips curled into a slight smile. "The universe doesn't care if we survive. No one's coming to save us. So we learn to save ourselves, and eventually each other. That's humanity's greatest strength, not our endurance or adaptability or even our social skills. It's that when things get truly desperate, we don't give up. We get creative. The silence that followed was profound. So, Mandante, Thompson concluded, standing up and stretching casually. You can kick me out if you want. Report back to your Federation that humans are too unpredictable, too dangerous. But remember this conversation when you face something that seems truly impossible, because that's when you'll want a human on your side. With that, she gave them a mock salute and headed for the door, pausing only briefly to look back. Oh, and for what it's worth, this was the easiest week of training I've ever had. Just wait until you see what I can do when I'm actually trying. The door slid shut behind her, leaving 13 training officers in stunned silence. Finally, Commander Prill Nas spoke. I believe, she said slowly, that we may need to reconsider our entire understanding of what makes a species formidable. No one disagreed. 3 rotation cycles had passed since Cadet Thompson's dramatic exit from the emergency meeting. The academy hallways buzzed with rumors about the human stories that grew more outlandish with each retelling. Some cadets claimed she could breathe in vacuum. Others swore she could communicate telepathically with the academy's AI systems. A particularly persistent rumor suggested she had arm-wrestled a maintenance droid into submission. Commander Prill Nas had spent those 3 days in constant communication with Galactic Federation High Command, her office sealed, transmission frequency scrambled. When she finally emerged, her skin flaps had taken on a decidedly gray pallor. Attention all training officers, her message pinged across neural interfaces throughout the station. Mandatory meeting. 0900 hours, no exceptions. This time the conference room was different, larger, more secure, with scanning fields at the entrance to prevent electronic eavesdropping. The officers filed in silently, exchanging nervous glances. I'll get straight to the point. Commander Prill Nas began without preamble, her voice uncharacteristically tight. High Command has reviewed our reports about Cadet Thompson. They've also examined historical data we've gathered about human civilization. And she paused, all 6 eye stalks focusing on different points around the room, as if searching for the right words. And? Prompted training officer Xana Rep, and they're terrified, Prill Nas said flatly. The room erupted in alarmed chittering, bubbling, squawking cacophony that only subsided when the commander raised all 4 limbs for silence. Not of Cadet Thompson specifically, she clarified, but of what humans represent. The Federation has encountered over 3,000 sentient species. None, I repeat, none have exhibited the peculiar combination of traits humans possess. She activated the holographic display, which showed a spinning model of Earth. This, she continued, is the human homeworld, one planet. Not a system of colonies. Not a network of habitats. One planet. So they're primitives? Asked Glorp hopefully. That's what we thought initially. Prill Nas's skin flaps rippled with tension, until we analyzed their historical data. Humans went from their first powered flight to landing on their moon in 66 planetary cycles. 66. Most species take thousands of cycles to make that technological leap. If they make it at all, that's concerning. Zon Pell admitted, crystalline structures shifting nervously. It gets worse, Prill Nas continued. Their history is essentially one long series of conflicts, ranging from small tribal disputes to global wars that killed millions. Yet somehow, instead of destroying themselves, these conflicts drove innovation. Their most significant technological advancements came during wartime. They evolved through conflict, Corva whispered, feathers bristling. That explains their performance in our training exercises. Precisely, Prill Nas nodded her primary stalk. But here's what truly alarms High Command. Despite their history of internal conflict, humans display remarkable unity when facing external threats. Their literature, their entertainment, even their religious texts often center around disparate groups coming together against common enemies. So, if they perceived the Federation as a threat, Training Officer Durla Finn let the implication hang in the water-charged air. This is absurd. Vex Tula burst out. We're talking about one species from one planet. The Federation encompasses thousands of worlds. Even with their unusual abilities, they couldn't possibly pose a genuine threat, couldn't they? Commander Prill Nas challenged. Let me share a final piece of information High Command uncovered. When humans first achieved faster-than-light travel, they encountered a predatory species in a neighboring system. The Draxians, you won't have heard of them because they no longer exist as a spacefaring civilization. Stunned silence filled the room. The Draxians attacked a human colony. Prilnaz continued, small outpost, minimal defenses. The humans sent a diplomatic vessel to negotiate. The Draxians destroyed it. What followed was what humans call a proportional response. She tapped her interface, displaying a star chart with a blinking red zone covering several systems. The humans didn't just defeat the Draxian fleet, she said quietly. They systematically dismantled their entire military infrastructure across 3-star systems, disabled their FTL capability, and imposed technological restrictions that effectively grounded them on their homeworld. The entire campaign took less than 1 standard galactic year. That's not possible. Creel clicked his mandibles in disbelief. A species at their development stage couldn't. They did. Prilnaz cut him off. And here's the most alarming part. According to their own historical records, they were holding back. They wanted to teach a lesson without committing genocide. The implications sent a chill through the room. So, what does High Command want us to do? Asked Xanarep finally. Expel Cadet Thompson? Restrict human integration into the Federation? Commander Prilnaz's skin flaps fluttered with what might have been amusement. Quite the opposite. They want us to accept as many human cadets as possible, integrate them thoroughly into every level of Federation operations. What? The collective shock was palpable. As their ancient saying goes, keep your friends close, and your potential existential threats closer, Prilnaz said dryly. High Command believes we need to understand humans better. Learn their weaknesses, yes, but more importantly, learn from their strengths, and most critically, ensure they see the Federation as an ally, not a competitor. And so we're supposed to just welcome these walking catastrophes into our midst. Vex Tula's appendages trembled with indignation. Yes, came a new voice from the doorway. Though I prefer adaptive problem solvers to walking catastrophes. For the second time in as many meetings, Cadet Thompson had managed to enter undetected. This time, however, she wasn't alone. Behind her stood a tall, imposing human male in the formal uniform of a Galactic Federation ambassador. Commander Prilnaz, officers. The man nodded respectfully. Ambassador Riker Donovan, Earth Diplomatic Corps. I apologize for the interruption, but I thought this might be an appropriate moment to introduce myself. Commander Prilnaz's eye stalks all swiveled toward the doorway. Ambassador? We weren't notified of your arrival. Yes, well, bureaucracy moves slowly, even at faster-than-light speeds. Ambassador Donovan smiled disarmingly. I was already en route when Cadet Thompson's uniqueness became apparent. And how exactly did you gain access to this secure meeting? Prilnaz asked, struggling to maintain composure. Oh, that was my doing. Thompson grinned. Turns out your security systems have a fairly predictable algorithmic pattern. Nothing too complicated. You hacked our security? Vex Tula sputtered. Hacked sounds so aggressive. Thompson shrugged. I prefer creatively accessed. Ambassador Donovan shot her a warning glance. What Cadet Thompson means is that we identified a potential vulnerability in your systems. We'll provide full details to your security team, of course. Consider it our first contribution to our new partnership. Partnership? Echoed Glorp, his gelatinous form rippling with confusion. Indeed, Donovan moved further into the room with a practiced diplomatic grace. As I believe your commander was explaining, the Federation High Command and Earth's unified government have reached an agreement. More humans will be joining your academy, and eventually, all branches of Federation service. With all due respect, Ambassador, Xanarep's tail twitched anxiously. This decision seems rushed. On the contrary, Donovan smiled. Both our governments have been observing each other for quite some time. Cadet Thompson's application was not random chance. She was selected as our first official representative to test the waters, so to speak. All eyes turned to Thompson, who offered a mock innocent shrug. You knew? Commander Prilnaz addressed her directly. This whole time? Yeah, not everything. Thompson admitted. They told me I was part of a cultural exchange program. The whole test subject thing was news to me too, though I had my suspicions when they selected me specifically. And why is that? Asked Durla Finn, curiosity overcoming apprehension. Because Thompson's expression grew serious for a moment. Contrary to what I told you before, I'm not actually average by human standards. I was in the bottom quartile of candidates. The revelation sent a ripple of alarm through the room. You're underperforming? Creel's mandibles clicked rapidly in distress. Thompson laughed. Only by comparison to the truly exceptional humans. I'm what we call aggressively average. What Cadet Thompson means, Ambassador Donovan interjected smoothly, is that humanity contains multitudes. Some of us excel physically, others mentally, others socially. What makes us unique as a species is not individual capability, but our collective potential, and our stubborn refusal to accept limitations. Thompson added with a grin. Commander Prilnaz's skin flaps had taken on a fascinating purple hue, a sign of an intense cognitive processing among Zortanians. Ambassador, while I understand High Command's decision, I must express concern about integration challenges. As our experiences with Cadet Thompson demonstrate, humans operate differently. Precisely why this academy is the perfect starting point. Donovan nodded. We're better to learn how to work together than in an environment designed for training diverse species. Besides, Thompson added cheerfully, I've already started making adjustments to help everyone feel more comfortable around me. I've been practicing moving more slowly, telegraphing my actions, even moderating my voice volume. And in return, my fellow cadets have been teaching me about their cultures. It's true, admitted Zanarep reluctantly. Several cadets have reported positive interactions with Thompson. The Varaxian and Peltoid students have even formed a study group with her. They call themselves the Improbable Friends. See? Thompson beamed. Humans are extremely adaptable. It's kind of our whole thing. Ambassador Donovan cleared his throat. If I may, Commander, I believe we have an unprecedented opportunity here. Humans need the Federation's experience, resources, and moral guidance, and perhaps, just perhaps, the Federation might benefit from a fresh perspective. A perspective that includes refusing to accept impossible scenarios? Commander Prilnaz asked pointedly, especially that. Donovan's expression grew serious, because the universe is full of impossible scenarios, Commander. Dying stars, hostile species, resource scarcity, climate collapse. Problems that seem insurmountable until some idiot comes along who doesn't know they're insurmountable. Thompson interjected with a wink. For the first time since the meeting began, Commander Prilnaz's skin flaps vibrated in what could only be interpreted as amusement. Ambassador, Cadet Thompson, could you give us a moment to discuss this among ourselves? Of course, Donovan nodded, gesturing for Thompson to follow him out. At the doorway, Thompson paused. Just so you know, we really do want this to work. Humans have a saying, we're stronger together than apart. We believe that. Truly, the door slid shut behind them. For several long moments, the conference room remained silent as 13 training officers grappled with the implications of what they'd just learned. Well, Vextula finally broke the silence. We're completely doomed. Perhaps, Zanarep countered thoughtfully, or perhaps we're on the cusp of something remarkable. I reviewed Earth's historical records, Corva admitted. Did you know humans domesticated apex predators on their planet? It's not for food or labor, but for companionship. They call them pets. That's disturbing, bubbled Glorp. Yes, but telling, Corva continued. Humans don't just overcome obstacles, they form relationships with them, transform threats into allies. And what happens when they consider us the obstacle? Asked Vextula darkly. Commander Prilnaz's eye stalks all focused on him. Then we'd better ensure they never do. You're suggesting we proceed with this integration? Creel clicked in surprise. I'm suggesting we don't have a choice. Prilnaz replied. Humans have already made contact with 17 other spacefaring civilizations beyond the Federation. They're expanding rapidly. If not with us, they'll ally with others. So it's a containment strategy. Zahn Pell's crystalline features gleamed with understanding. Partly, Prilnaz acknowledged. But I've been reviewing the data too. Humans possess qualities our Federation could genuinely benefit from, such as prompted Durlafin, innovation through adversity, social adaptability, psychological resilience, and most intriguingly, their unique capacity to forge unlikely alliances. Prilnaz gestured to the star map still hovering above the table. The galaxy is larger and more dangerous than we like to admit. Perhaps we need some walking catastrophes on our side. A thoughtful silence fell over the room. So we're really doing this? Vex Tula asked finally, welcoming humans into the Federation, into our academy? Yes, Commander Prilnaz confirmed, and we're going to adjust our training protocols accordingly, make them easier. Asked Glorp hopefully. On the contrary, Prilnaz's skin flaps rippled with determination. We're going to make them harder. Much harder. If humans thrive on challenge, let's give them challenges worthy of their abilities, and in the process, perhaps we'll push ourselves to new heights as well. That's actually quite inspiring, admitted Xana Rep. Don't get too comfortable with the idea, Prilnaz warned. Next week, 15 more human cadets arrive, and according to their files, they make Thompson look positively restrained. Vex Tula groaned, all 4 appendages drooping dramatically. I should have retired last cycle when I had the chance. Look at it this way. Commander Prilnaz's eye stalks curved in the Zortanian equivalent of a smile. In a few years, we'll either have the most formidable academy in the galaxy or the most spectacular ruins. Either way, it won't be boring. Outside the conference room, Thompson leaned against the wall, a satisfied smile playing across her lips as she listened through the not-quite-soundproof door. They're coming around, she whispered to Ambassador Donovan. Though I think we should warn the next group to tone down the whole humanity's indomitable spirit routine. It freaks them out. Donovan chuckled softly, and miss watching their expressions when they discover humans sleep voluntarily losing consciousness for a third of each day, or when they learn we intentionally jump from perfectly functioning aircraft or consume fermented liquids that temporarily impair our cognitive functions. Fair point. Thompson grinned. The galaxy's not ready for the full human experience just yet. No, Donovan agreed with a knowing smile. But they will be. Given time and proper introduction, they will be. As they walked away from the conference room, neither human noticed the small maintenance drone that had been silently recording their conversation. Nor did they see it float away toward the communications hub, where other species not part of the Federation maintained their own listening posts. Species who had been watching humans with growing concern, species who were now beginning to plan. Because if there was one truth universally acknowledged across the galaxy, it was this: when humans entered the scene, nothing remained unchanged for long. And not everyone welcomed change.